Good morning, good morning. Welcome to In Light of the Gospel. I don't know who needs to hear this today, but I feel like I really need to share it. The concept of love being a feeling is a huge myth that's tearing apart a lot of relationships. Everybody knows the concept to be true, and yet when the rubber hits the road and marriage in particular gets really rough and the feelings are gone, the butterflies no longer appear. Maybe you're looking over the fence, seeing other marriages, other relationships, and they look more exciting. Maybe things are more thrilling somewhere else. And you start thinking about how lonely you are. Maybe how deprived you might feel. Maybe you're considering how, you hear about a coworker, you hear about a friend who's got such joy and excitement in their life, and they're really loving their life. And then you consider your own marriage, your own relationship, and you're just like, it's so lackluster, it's so subpar, and it's just not where I was hoping it would be. And then you're tempted to think, maybe we're just not in love anymore. And it's such a persuasive ideology and a dangerous thing to consider, because it's a myth, it's a ruse, it's not true. People will go to the next big thing, and absolutely it'll spark new excitement. It'll bring butterflies back into your heart. It'll make you feel good. It will stimulate your life. But there is no such thing as temporary love. Love is all-encompassing. Love never fails. Love does not seek its own. Charity gives constantly. And I know that doesn't sound like the life that you want to live right now, because you want excitement, you want joy, you want satisfaction, you want the butterflies, you want the passion and the zeal and all that. But you don't want the short-lived version of that. You want your relationship as a young person to start that way. The romance, the excitement, the infatuation, that's all supposed to be there. But the whole idea of marriage, the whole idea of vows, is designed in such a way that you promise that when things get rough, you're not going anywhere. You promise that through thick and thin, good times and bad, rich or poor, sickness and health, no matter what comes, I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to be with you, and I'm going to be with you. You would think that we would know intuitively. If you promise that on your wedding day, then you ought to expect that there's going to be seasons where you have to actually practice it. You have to forbear with one another. You have to forgive one another. You have to suffer long, the Bible says. Well, that doesn't sound like the kind of marriage I want. I want the one that's full of sparks and excitement. There is no such thing. I guarantee you there is no such thing. Of course, I'm married 20 years. And I love my wife more now than I ever have. And yes, there's times of excitement and joy and sparks and all that, wonderful goodness. But it's not the norm. The norm is routine. The norm is loving her and her loving me, honoring me, respecting me, me giving myself for her, serving her however I can in the day-to-day, through thick and thin, no matter what comes. If our marriage is supposed to emulate Christ, what did Christ do? He gave himself for the church, us, the bride. When? While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. When there was nothing desirable or beautiful or pretty about us. When there was nothing in us that God would look at and say, oh, I've got to have these people. They're so wonderful. God did not begin his relationship with the church through infatuation and butterflies. Rather, he decided, I'm going to love this person. I'm going to love these people. I'm going to love the church, and I'm going to lay down my life for it. And Jesus' statement is better to give than to receive. It should be obvious, but it's not, because it's counterintuitive. It feels like upside down kingdom. And that's exactly what it is. Jesus gave himself, gave up his life so that we could have life, and it was what gave him the most joy. The most joy is found not in finding infatuation, sparks, and excitement for you. The most lasting, permanent joy is found in giving up what you want to do and serving the needs of another. And it might be periods of dryness. There might be periods of long suffering. There might be times when you feel like, I don't know if I can keep going in this direction. Then you might need to find a friend. You might need to cast your cares upon the Father, for he cares for you. But you stay. You know, the ultimate expression of love, the ultimate expression of charity, of grace and of mercy is found at the cross. When he could have called 10 legions of angels, when he could have come down from the cross and showed his power, and when he could have said, I don't want these people, they're wicked, they're sinful, they're depraved, they're not giving me excitement and joy, he could have just said, I'm done with them. But the most beautiful expression of love there ever could be is just in the fact that Jesus stayed. He did not leave. He said, I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. This is how marriage is supposed to work. I know, easier said than done, right? It's a difficult, long go, but it's beautiful. The more dedicated you become to her, the more dedicated and loyal she is to you. The reciprocal feelings of love can grow deeper and stronger to the point where it's like, it'd be like missing your arm. You know, it's not just she gives me excitement and butterflies in my soul, in my stomach. Rather, it's she's a need. She is something that I crave. She's a part of me and I cannot do without. That's what true love ought to be. Not just feelings, not just excitement. Now, obviously, in marriage, you have to work to keep the spark going. You have to keep serving one another. You have to keep courting each other. You have to keep making things fresh and exciting and new. And it might require a little getaway or a trip or something along those lines. But many cultures, many societies, even our own culture for generations didn't have those options, and they made it work. You know, marriages are falling apart left and right today because people are becoming selfish. I mean, they've always been selfish. This is no shock. It's not anything new. But it's because people are forgetting that love is not something that you feel first and foremost. Love is something that you do. Love is an action word. Love is something that requires you to put your shoes on and to do, and the rewards will come in time. Everything good in this life, this is what separates us from the animals. Everything good in this life requires us to sacrifice the pleasures of the current for hopes of rewards in the future. There was some statistics done some years back that said that if you're unhappy in your marriage today, statistically speaking, if you give it 5 more years, you will be happy. Well, some people, well, I want to be happy now. I want to be happy now. Well, yeah, you might get into another relationship and feel happy for a couple of years, and then you'll be right back into the same rhythm. When you get to know somebody, when somebody gets to know you, it gets hard. It's how it works. That's how relationships are supposed to work. And it's the beautiful way. It requires you to lay down, to give up, to sacrifice in order to find what really matters. Animals don't really do that. They look for their current need, they look for their need for the coming season, and that is it. Humans can give up of the current. We can sacrifice the current for the reward of the future. Jesus also, it says, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame, and now he's set down at the right hand of God. And so the current situation you're in might be like emulating the cross, but the result of going through that period of time will be like eventually emulating the resurrection. That's the beauty of it. We sacrifice currently for the glory of the future. Even as far as our Christian life goes, the Bible says that the glory that we will receive is not worthy to be compared with the current sufferings that we might be going through now. And marriage is the exact same way. There might be periods of suffering, periods of difficulty, but you promised to love. And so you love through thick and thin, and then it becomes beautiful. And you catch glimpses of the beauty and the glory that marriage can be. And then maybe you come back down into the valley and there's some difficulties. But if you go from partner to partner to partner, seeking for that high, that joy, that excitement, it'll be up there for a while. Then it comes crashing down and you got to find all over again, someone new, some new thing. And then it fades, and you're always looking for that full feeling of fulfillment. And I don't think that can happen apart from years and years of loving, truly loving another person. And that's not a feeling.